governor's race. But now we have some new polling done again by the Detroit News and WDIV. We just had that road survey that Chris was talking about. This was again done by the Detroit News and WDIV with 2 months remaining before Election Day. Governor Whitmer up 13 percentage points over Tudor Dixon, 48-35. They talked to 600 likely voters in the state. 4% of the participants said they favor a third-party candidate, while 13% undecided or they declined to answer. Talking a little bit about how a single issue can really, really affect one election. We're going to bring in an expert on the subject. David Dulio, political science professor at Oakland University. Hi, David. Glad you could join us today.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
So what did you think when you saw this survey saying that Whitmer was leading Dixon by that margin, and people, again, pointing to that issue of abortion? Were you surprised by that?
I really wasn't, and I'll say that I think that this is a great example of why we see such great evidence that campaign advertising works, and in fact, negative advertising works. Right? What are we seeing every time we turn on the television, or even through online advertisements? Right? That the Whitmer campaign, her allies, just continually are pounding away at Tudor Dixon's campaign on that issue of abortion.
One single one. Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Right. It's all about that all the time.
And you know, David, here's the deal. Abortion is such a personal issue. The way you feel is the way you feel. And chances are better than not that you are not going to waver. So as we go through the next 2 months leading up to the election, it's not like, pro-lifers are going to say, well, you know what? Or those in favor of abortion are going to say, well, it's not that way.
No.
This is the way it is, correct?
You're 100% right. And this might be the best example of that kind of dynamic at play in people's minds about how they're going to vote. This is not about persuading people one way or the other on the abortion issue. This is about activating those feelings and those emotions and trying to get folks who are pro-choice to come out and support Governor Whitmer.
Also in the poll, it found that 80% of Michigan voters said that they believed abortion should be legal in situations involving rape or incest. So again, in rape or incest, 80% of Michigan voters say that abortion should be legal for those individuals. And that is at the very core, when you mention the advertising, Tudor Dixon's the ads against Tudor Dixon are going right to that one issue, that one part of the issue where, she states no, that, her belief, and let us just say that is a deeply held religious belief for Tudor Dixon. You have to respect someone's belief system, but that's what she believes, and they have zeroed right in on that.
They absolutely have, and it's no surprise. Once again, I think it's really campaigning 101, where the Whitmer campaign and her allies, they know the same thing. But they knew that well in advance of the Detroit News poll coming out, showing that kind of percentages, and they know that's an issue where they have a comparative advantage with the vast majority of likely voters over the Dixon campaign. So they are just going to, again, continue to hammer away at that issue. And really a big problem that the Dixon campaign has is that they can't answer or retaliate or rebut what the Whitmer campaign is saying, because Tudor Dixon has such a funding disadvantage to the other side.
David, we were just talking about the roads, and you remember what a difference 4 years makes. In 2018, the battle cry was fix the damn roads. And then we get the Supreme Court decision on R.V. Wade, and the fuse was lit. And, it's so very interesting, David, because it's just not only here with the governor's race in the state of Michigan, it's nationwide.
It is. And it's, the pro-life side celebrated, rightly so. in the summer, in June, when that decision was handed down. It's something that they had been fighting for decades. But it has certainly changed the political dynamics across the country. And another layer of that for us here in Michigan is the ballot initiative that now, thanks to the Michigan Supreme Court ruling, is going to be on the ballot November 8th.
Yeah. And I also wanted to ask you about something else, David Dulio, political science professor from Oakland University. Another survey, this one's from the University of Michigan. As we're talking about these issues that are, obviously deal with people's deeply held religious beliefs and so forth, this particular survey found that nearly half of top local Michigan officials say that they have been harassed. Families have been threatened. Personal safety has been threatened. That's what these issues are driving people to. Were you surprised to hear about that survey?
I think the size of that percentage was a bit shocking to me, right?
Oh,
I think so. And, in terms of the sheer number of elected officials at the local level that are out there, that's a lot of people. But it's unfortunately a sign of the times in our politics these days. When in fact, I imagine that folks that did the harassing saw instances on television of Supreme Court justices being harassed outside of their own homes. Mm-hmm. We've seen instances of U.S. senators being harassed inside restaurants in Washington D.C. Right, so it's
on airplanes,
a bit of a copycat effect everywhere. Right, so if it's good enough for those folks, I guess we're allowed to do it here, which. I think we need to get a handle on.
And we should say these are both Democrats and Republicans that report this. So it's not like it's one side or the other. This is both sides that somebody feels the need to actually pick up the phone or reach out in some way.
Dialogue doesn't work anymore.
No, but to actually make a threat.
Right.
It's really unacceptable.
People are really emboldened, I think, by some of the things that they've seen and read. And I also think, too, that social media has conditioned a lot of folks to get really brave behind the anonymity of a screen name or an avatar. And, when you're pounding away the keyboard, you're much more likely to say something that you wouldn't if you were face-to-face with that person.
Right.
Well, David, there's a lot going on, obviously. Some of it very unfortunate, but the NFL's back on tonight, my friend.
We have something to celebrate.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, David, for your time.
Thanks, David.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right,
Thanks.
David Dulio, political science professor there at Oakland U, with us here on the Albom Show on 760 WJR.